Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Grace Francisca. I am the events coordinator for AMG, and I'm so pleased to introduce Mildred Treash, if I pronounce that correctly. Mildred is currently a senior assistant director at the UCLA Career Center, co-leading a team that works closely with the 40,000 plus employers seeking to hire UCLA students and graduates. In this role, she has worked towards developing structures and systems that will increase the impact in helping to connect all UCLA students to meaningful career and opportunities. She also serves on the board of Oak Valley College, a small private college in her hometown of Rialto, California. Prior roles included organizing professional development programs for executives from top organizations, leading a student-centered program at a community college, and being a college instructor. And she is here today to help present strategies for advancing your career at UCLA. And I'll turn it over to you, Mildred. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Grace, for that introduction, and welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. And I'm looking forward to this presentation. So let me go ahead and jump right into strategies for advancing your career here at UCLA. So what you will walk away with today is what I hope to talk to you about is how to set your goals, how to display your skills, and how to connect with confidence. And I'll jump a little bit. I'll share a little bit about my story as we go along. But before I do that, I actually want to get to know a little bit more about you. So I would love it if you put into the chat, what is your favorite part of working at UCLA? So go ahead and start sharing a bit.
Oh, no, I mean, share your screen.
I'll open it. And then just a reminder to mute yourself if you're not already muted. But go ahead and drop into the chat your favorite parts of working at UCLA. Okay, so I am seeing the people, networking, co-workers, a lot of people. There are definitely a lot of amazing people at UCLA. Flexibility, working with students, research and innovation, people. Okay, it seems like people is one of the winners, but there's also a lot of wonderful things in here. One of my favorite parts is I actually love walking around the campus, which is why I have this picture here. And when I first started working at UCLA, I had about a 10-minute walk. I don't know if all of you have experienced that. They assign you a parking lot that's kind of far away from where your actual office location is at. So I had a 10-minute walk, but you know, it was a beautiful 10-minute walk. Just getting to see Jan's steps as I walk into work every morning. It was great. Plus, yes, my coworkers have also been great. I wanted to talk a little bit more, here at UCLA, we have so many good things working here. We're the #1 public university, as you can see from my background, as we all know, for the past 6 years. And this university, it does allow us so many different opportunities. Plus, there's a very great mission. Somebody mentioned the mission in the chat, which is actually to UCLA's primary purpose as a public research university is the creation, dissemination, preservation, and application of knowledge for the betterment of our global society. So we all get to be a part of that, which is amazing. All right, so let me jump into a little bit about my role here at the UCLA Career Center. Speaking of mission statements, we have a mission statement here too. And this is a picture of an event that we had recently with students. And our mission is to connect all Bruins to meaningful career opportunities. Our team, when I first started here about a year ago, we got together and we put this mission together, and we reflect on it a lot as we go about making our goals for how to reach students and how to connect employers to the right students, and vice versa. But one of the key words there is meaningful career opportunities. Our students actually say that the #1 thing they look for when they're looking for a new position is fulfillment. But isn't that what we're all looking for? A fulfilling and meaningful career. And that's one of the reasons I was really excited to do this presentation, because I believe that we have so much opportunity here at UCLA. UCLA employs over 40,000 employees, and there's so many different departments, so many centers, so many schools, that there is an opportunity for you, regardless of what your interests are or your skills are. There's something that you can do that can provide a great opportunity for you. So let's talk a little bit about moving along your career path. Let's see. So I want you to reflect a bit on your career path. Where did you start? What was your first job? I would imagine it was probably an entry level or a mid-level job. And I do believe that when you're thinking about strategy, you have to go back and think about those skills and knowledge that you learned. So what skills and knowledge did you learn while you were there? These entry-level and mid-level jobs really do provide the foundation for your success here at UCLA. They're like a boot camp. I mean, a lot of time you do a lot of the hard work in those entry-level jobs in order to execute the mission of UCLA. But the skills, the knowledge that you gain, it actually ends up paying off exponentially. And in order to get us all thinking about these different strategies that you can use to apply your skills and knowledge to advance your career here, I'd like to share a little bit about my story. So I started off at UCLA Executive Education. This picture is one of the Collins Center for Executive Education. After graduating with my master's, I applied at many different universities, and my master's was in higher education, leadership, and student development. So I applied at many different universities, and I was hired here. And I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to work here. My role was, I started as a program manager, which is the entry-level position at this department at the School of Anderson. And what I did was I was responsible for organizing all of the logistical aspects of presenting, of delivering programs to top executives from all over the world. It's executive education. We worked with CEOs, with vice presidents, people who own their own company, high-level directors, board of directors. So when I first started, I had a lot on my plate. We had to execute everything from beginning to end, from making sure that the professors had everything they needed, from markers to bottled water, to their materials, making sure that the executives had everything they needed, catering, snacks for their breaks, water, soda. The website was maintained, answering various questions. It was a lot. And the first year was really tough. I felt overwhelmed quite a bit. And sometimes I would even find myself thinking, I don't think this is what I got my master's degree for. I'm not getting to use any of the skills I learned there. And sometimes like I said, I was overwhelmed with all of the work. Fortunately, though, I had an excellent direct supervisor who was a great trainer and always there for me to answer all of my questions. I did make a lot of mistakes, but she was there to give me feedback and continue encouraging me. So like you all mentioned, the people, yes, the people at Executive Education definitely provided great support for me. That first year was tough. I made a lot of mistakes. Sometimes I would start thinking, oh man, am I going to get fired? Luckily, they didn't fire me. And I started getting the hang of it. And I really felt that I started to thrive and stand out. I started to get a chance to implement some ideas slowly. And after my second year, I got a chance to interview for the next role up, and I got my first promotion to lead the team of program managers. And that's where I really got a chance to start using the skills and knowledge I had acquired in that first job to start training and leading initiatives on the team, which was a lot more in line with what I had imagined when I was getting my master's degree. However, I want to go back to having had the experience of doing all of that hard work. It helped me be a much better leader. So, skills and knowledge. Let's talk a little bit about skills and knowledge. What unique skills and knowledge have you mastered that are highly desirable at UCLA? If any of you watched the Karate Kid, that wax on, wax off, all of that. I know Cobra Kai is very popular right now, but if you go back and watch the 80s movies, you see how the sensei really helped the main character practice skills that at first he thought, what in the world am I doing this for? And then he found out that it helped him be a much better at karate. So that's exactly how I felt. I had got a chance to practice so many skills, and I listed some of the ones that I learned. I learned budget planning, event planning and execution, the learning management software, many other softwares, working with various personalities, political acumen. So I want to ask you if you can share a little bit about what skills have you learned in your first job at UCLA. So maybe something that's not listed there. Go ahead and list whatever skills and knowledge you have learned here at UCLA. Maybe something that's not listed there. Resourcefulness, management, sensitivity training, speeches, customer service, academic research, email etiquette. That's a huge one. I never had so many emails in any of my prior jobs before I came to UCLA. Mentoring, service. Okay, wonderful. I want to ask you to remember all of these skills that you're typing in, because we're going to be talking them a lot. They are a part of your strategy towards achieving your career goals here. So all of these skills, all that knowledge, whatever training you were getting that you weren't really thinking about, it was just part of the job. These are all resources that you can use to advance your career. So I'm going to make a little analogy here because I'm a big board game person. And one of the things I love the most about board games, I love the board games that require you to use strategy. This one is one of my favorites. It requires players to manage the resources that they have in order to grow and expand their empire. And that's how you win the game. But in order to win, you have to know three things. Number one, you have to know what your leader's strengths are. There's a variety of different leaders and they all have different strengths. And you do get to pick your leader, but sometimes somebody else takes it before you do, maybe the one that you like, your favorite. Regardless, you have to understand what strengths your leader has and not worry about the strengths you don't have. It's like understand your leader and work to those strengths. The next thing that you do to win is you gather resources. In this game specifically, there's a variety of different resources, but you usually want to get them all, but it's impossible to get them all. There's only so much, and that's very much related to us. It's like we can't have all the resources available there. We have certain skills, certain knowledge. We're limited. So it's like know the resources you have and start combining them with your leader strengths. That's really ideally what you should do. Combine your leader strengths to the resources. And of course, you have to know the rules. In this particular game, whatever civilization has the most culture will end up winning the game. But the real key is knowing how to combine the strengths, resources, and optimizing them to create synergies. Winning at strategy games really is, it's a blend of skill and luck. Luck, you don't always get to pick everything, but how do you use what you have? And I actually I pointed this out because I want to use this analogy, this game specifically, because these three aspects are very applicable to how we can use strategy in our careers. So leader strengths, we can equate that to our strengths. What are your strengths? What makes you tick? What makes you get excited and be happy to work here? And maybe what do you not like about your job? What kind of job would work better for you? You have to know yourself. You have to know your strengths. And with that, I actually want to recommend an assessment that I have taken myself and I have found to be very valuable. It's the strengths assessment. And Grace has the link for that. If you can drop that into the chat. That one tells you your 5 strengths. And one of the good things, I do recommend it. It has a $20 cost. So it's up to you whether or not you want it to do that. And if you've already taken it, that's great. But this one tells you you take an assessment and then it tells you 5 top strengths, and it gives you language to be able to understand yourself, why you do the things you why some things make you happier than others. So it's one I really recommend to understand yourself, because I feel like that is a foundational part in order to know where you want to go. So strengths is one. Your strengths, you're the leader of your board game. Resources. The resources are those skills, knowledge, and connections that you have already. All of you have them, whether you've been here 6 months or 6 years or 16 years, however much time you've been here, you have acquired skills. We named some of them already. You've acquired knowledge about the university. You've acquired connections. You've met people just, within your department and being out and about. Those are all resources that you have at your disposal. And finally, knowing the rules. I'm going to equate that to political acumen. And that is understanding, those unspoken rules here, the norms within your team, within your department, what makes your boss tick? What makes your boss's boss tick? And your boss's boss's boss. It's good to start understanding that, and you do that during the first few years that you're at your position. And then the goal really is to optimize them, bring them all together, create synergies to achieve your goals. So that's why I want to bring in that little analogy before we jump into the actual strategies I'm going to recommend. Okay, so keeping with the board game thing, your goals. First step is to set your goals. What do you want to do? Before you start setting a strategy, you do have to think about what is it that you want to do. Do you want to make more money? Do you want an opportunity to gain more skills in a certain area? Do you want to lead? Do you want to manage? Do you want the opportunity to make decisions for the department? Maybe set the vision, develop a culture. It's really important to start thinking about this and explore if you can reach. Start exploring if you can reach those goals within your department. That's usually the first place you start, within your department. How can you move up where you're already at? How have people been promoted within your team in the past? So start looking at, is there a role within your current department that you would want to be in? And does it make sense for you to go this route? If the answer is yes, then definitely the first step is start letting your supervisor know about that. Let them know that you're interested. Let them know what roles you want to be in. Start asking for opportunities to maybe get to practice some of that. And that is actually what I did. Even when I was still in my first role as a program manager, I started seeing, well, what can I do because I wanted to get promoted to the next level. So I started seeing the next level was account director. So I started seeing what do they do? What can I do to help out with that, to take on some of those roles? And you can also start looking, there are teams within departments. For example, at Anderson, there's many different, within the School of Anderson, there's many different departments. So if you're looking to go outside of your department, stay in the same school, start looking around what other opportunities are there. Maybe if there is an opportunity that really appeals to you in your specific department, start looking within that bubble, whatever school that you happen to be in or department you happen to be in. See how people got promoted there. If you're not sure, you can talk to colleagues who have been there longer. Ask them what made their past colleague get promoted, what made them stand out for the promotion. Start talking, start connecting with those resources that you already have. Many of you said you love the people. We'll start finding out, how do people here get promoted? Not just within our team, but maybe outside of our team. What have they done? And then perhaps start thinking about other departments or schools within UCLA. I know for me, we always talk about UCLA is siloed. So it's easier to start within, but UCLA is huge. There's again 40,000 employees. So, keep options open. Start looking what other what other opportunities are there. And I'm going to go back a little bit. I flipped forward too soon. Okay. Let's see. And one of the things with setting goals that I definitely want to recommend to everybody is to be flexible. Just like in the game of Scrabble, you can plan your next word, you can have a perfect word picked out, but then somebody takes the spot that you were looking for. So you need to pivot to plan B. Be flexible with your goals. Life does throw us curveballs all the time. So let's be ready to switch them. I'm a big proponent of having a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, because life does what it wants sometimes. But there's always opportunities. Even if one goes, what's that next, first, like Scrabble, what's that next word that you can put in? For me, what I did when I was at Exec Ed, I let my supervisors know I wanted to grow. And I excelled at my current role. So wherever it is that you're at right now, you want to stand out. When they do your yearly evaluations, you want to get beyond meeting expectations, because that is what makes you stand out. And if you're not getting those beyond meeting expectations, then ask your supervisor, what can I do? And start putting in the work to move ahead. If you want to get promoted, if you want to advance your career, that's one of the key steps. For me, an opportunity did come up when somebody left and there was a vacancy, as often happens here. People move on somewhere else, and that creates more opportunities for others. And at that time, I had been working on myself, and I knew my goals. So I was able to interview for the job and get that promotion to lead the program manager team. Okay. However, if there aren't opportunities within your department and it doesn't seem like anybody is going to be leaving anytime soon, and you feel like you're ready, that's when it's time to start doing a little bit more research on knowing your options at UCLA. So all of you should be familiar with this one, depending on how long you've been here, because you probably used this website to apply for UCLA jobs. So that means it has your information saved. You would have to go in there and update it to whatever your current role has been doing, because that's probably what's missing in there. So it's a good idea to know what other roles are out there. What appeals to you based on your strengths and interests. So after you take that strengths test, or just do a little bit more self-reflection, there's plenty of free ones online too. Start seeing, what do you want to do? I recommend going through, reading different JDs. And if there's any that match your current skills, and you feel that you're ready, go ahead and apply for them. And just a note, you do not have to match the skills 100%. That is one of the mistakes that many people make, is that, oh, if I don't match it 100%, I must not be qualified. When employers put together the job descriptions, it's a wish list. It's like, this is everything that we have. It's very rare when a candidate is actually found that has all of those skills. So my role at the Career Center, I work very closely with employers, and yes, this is the case. You do not need to match it 100%. You should match most of it, so more than 50%. If you don't match at least 50% of the job description, or about 60% of the job description, then start looking at the skills that you still need, and start making a plan on how you can acquire those skills. Campus Human Resources has a lot of great resources to continue to learn and advance your knowledge and skills if you're missing something. Or you can ask your supervisor, it's like, I want to grow this skill set. What can I do to grow? In addition to checking what kind of jobs you would look for to be your next job, the next step, I would also recommend taking a look at the stretch goal jobs that you would want to have, that ultimate dream job here at UCLA. For example, an executive director of a center, or maybe in a totally different field, like maybe you're in an admin role, you'd really like to do more of IT. So you can start making a plan right now to continue to build up the skills that role is asking for. one of the things here is if you really want to move up in the university, you usually have to continue to advance your education. Luckily, we work at an institution that provides higher education. So start looking at the different programs that are available here and seeing if it's something that makes sense for you, if that's something that you want. Another thing you should be aware of when you're looking is you should have a good idea of the current level your job is at. So we all have, according to career tracks, we all have different levels. So, and there is the note for career tracks. It's really good to know what level you're at and what level the ones that you're applying for are. Usually you'll want to move up in those levels, but not necessarily. It really just depends on the job description and are you actually getting a chance to grow? So first step is goals, knowing your goals, doing your research, trying to really looking at the different opportunities out there and seeing what you can do to grow in those in the skills that you need, seeing what you already have. Are there any skill gaps? What can you do to grow those? So next step, display your skills. So it's time to go, Monopoly board there. What skills do you have that match the next role you would like to have? And you want to start looking for opportunities where you can showcase these. So going back to the game analogy, these are your personal strengths that are inherent within your personality and the resources that you have available. That skills, knowledge, experience relevant to the position. It's important that you find an opportunity to display these in some way, shape, or form. Ways you can do this. So one, you can join a professional organization like AMG. You can ask your supervisor for a special project that will allow you to use them. You can investigate if you can join a committee on campus. And a lot of times you may not know what these are, but your supervisor may, or maybe your supervisor's supervisor. But you need to start getting the word out there. Start letting people know that you're interested in doing projects that will help you use these skills. One other thing I'm going to recommend is be strategic because you're limited in time and energy. If you burn out, you will need to start taking care of your health instead of working on your career. So it will hold up your progress. So I strongly recommend assessing the project before saying yes. Is this really the right project for you to get involved in? For me, once I learned how to do all the essential pieces of my job, I explored how I can make the experience better for the executives we provide programs for when I was at Exec. I started small. I used my skills in planning and creativity to plan out a really amazing graduation ceremony. Whereas before it just used to be in the classroom, I found a good location for it. I worked with our maintenance group to make sure to set it up in a way that just felt really special for them. After that, I took on another project, and then another one, a little bit at a time. And this allowed my supervisors to see that I had both initiative and the skills to make my ideas happen. Okay, so finding ways to display your skills. I actually was also a part of Toastmasters, Speak Up at Anderson Toastmasters, which is a public speaking club. And I got a chance to, definitely got a chance to practice my skills there and meet other people while I was at Toastmasters. I met a lot of other people working at Anderson. So they got to see my skills in case I was interested in making a switch between my team. So another thing I want to build up, and this is something that we show our students here at the Career Center, is career competencies. So the association that we're a part of here at Career Centers is the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they actually polled employers to see what they're looking for in this one was specifically for new employees to make sure they're ready, but I do think it applies to everyone. These are the things that will make you stand out. Like if you're having a hard time thinking about, oh, skills, knowledge, what do I have? These are some other things to think about. Critical thinking skills. That's one of the key things when people are going through college, regardless of your major. There's a myth out there that your major decides your career, and most of the time that's not true, as many of you probably know. But one of the key things that you do get from college is those critical thinking skills. All of those essays you have to write and projects you have to do and research you have to do allows you to start thinking a little bit, a lot more critically and putting information together in a valuable way. And this is something you can use for your career long term. There's 8 skills. I want to point out the 2 that stand out to me, the few that stand out to me, the most critical thinking. Leadership. Even if you're not leading other people, you're always leading yourself. It's always really important to make sure that you have a plan for yourself and that you're doing things on purpose. This makes you stand out. So leadership is key. Communication. When I used to work with executives, we would sit and chat sometimes, and sometimes the conversations would come up. What are some of the key strengths that you see in people for people to get ahead? And communication always came up. Being able to have those good communications, those good relational skills when you're interacting with others. And that goes hand in hand with teamwork, the one right next to it, and professionalism. And you are all practicing this one right here, career and self-development, by attending this session and the other sessions that AMG has to offer. Plus equity and inclusion, that one was mentioned in the chat earlier too. I think that's one of the huge benefits of working at UCLA is that there's so many opportunities to continue to learn about equity and inclusion, which is very important in our world today. And finally, technology. Got to stay on top of it. Got to know what's out there because it's constantly changing. So, okay, let's see. Let's continue to move along. Okay, the third thing we got to do to advance your career, and there was 3: your goals, setting your goals; 2, displaying your skills; 3rd, connecting with confidence. And I'm going to, there's 2 parts of connecting with confidence. First of all, connect with confidence with yourself. In order to come across confidently to others, you have to, like the picture says, believe in yourself. It starts with you. It's another reason I really like the strengths assessment. So be confident in your strengths. Know what they are. Know what you have to offer. Every single one of us has different strengths. And it's important to understand ourselves and know what they are and be able to speak to them, which is why I recommended that assessment. Know the skills and knowledge you do have. Sit down and start thinking, what have you done at work? We get so used to our day-to-day that we don't sit down and really think about, what skills am I learning by doing this day-to-day. So I gave a list earlier, and the slides will be available to you afterwards if you'd like. But start thinking about your actual job. It's like, what skills and knowledge do you offered, and be confident in that. Experience. Think of the contributions you've made for your team. And this is hard for us sometimes. It's hard for us to sit and, I guess, brag about ourselves. We've been taught to be humble, and yes, it is important to be humble, but it's also important to know your worth. So it's a balance of knowing your strengths, knowing your skills, knowing what the contributions that you've made. And something we always tell our students, especially our first-gen students, is be proud of your unique story. Everybody has a unique story. When you are out there connecting with others, it's important to be proud of your story, and be open to sharing what you want to share. So knowing those parts that make you stand out from everybody else. Just a little note about me. One of the things that for me is I actually became a mom at a very young age, and I used to be embarrassed to share that with others because I felt like it made me seem, well, I made a mistake early on in life. But once I started embracing that, I was able to I think just stand out more confidently. So whatever it is for you, is embrace your story. And one more part that makes us who we are is our weaknesses. And for me, I'm just going to encourage, be self-aware and learn to either be okay with it or actually work on it. There's some weaknesses that aren't that big of a deal. They're not going to hurt your career progression, but some of them will. So it's like, start asking the people around you, like, is there something that I can work on? And you really are the one who gets to decide whether or not you want to work on it. You can either work around it or you can work on it. But don't stress about them too much. You have a choice. You have a choice, like I said, to work on it or just accept it. When I first started exec ed, I was one of my, well, I guess what I saw as a weakness, I had imposter syndrome. I definitely had a huge imposter syndrome. I was so intimidated by the executives I worked with. They were, top people in their field. But I sat down with one of my colleagues one time. I had lunch with them, and they gave me this advice that they are just people just like you. And a lot of us, we often don't have all the answers. If it's something new that we're doing, we are just doing our best to try and figure it out. And this goes for everybody from CEOs to teachers to parents. When we start something new in a new environment, it's natural to feel out of place. And that's when it's important to go back and focus on your strengths, your skills, what you do have, your experience. Continue to tell yourself, no, I am a human being with value, just like every other human being around me. So look at the positive. Everyone has weaknesses. We all fail sometimes. The important part is to get back up. When you go on interviews, one of those famous questions is, what's your greatest weakness in a job? What's your greatest weakness in general? And just know that what the interviewer is really trying to get a sense of is your self-awareness. How aware are you of yourself, and what effort have you made to grow and improve? So that's what they want to hear. If there's an area where you can grow, what have you done? Let's see. Okay, next one. About your strengths and weaknesses. Here's a nice quote. You've got to be your own best friend first. How can you be best friends with someone you don't know or don't like? You can't. That's why it's so important to find out who you are and work to become someone you like and respect. John Maxwell writes many books on leadership. I really appreciate all the books I've read so far. So he's one that I recommend reading also. And yes, getting to know yourself and liking yourself is key to connecting with confidence. Next part of connecting with confidence is connecting with others. So to connect with others, you got to start building up your network. So for this one, I have a list of questions. Who do you know at UCLA? You know a lot of people already. Who can you continue to meet? Can you join a professional organization or a committee on campus? Is there a certification program you can do through Campus Human Resources? I actually joined the professional development program, and I got a chance to meet people from all across campus. I got a chance to meet people who worked in different schools, had different kinds of jobs that I had no idea existed, or different departments or centers that I didn't know existed. So it gives you a lot of great exposure. Are there any events or other ways to connect with a department you're interested in? At Anderson, they used to have a lunch series where you could go and listen to the students getting their PhDs. They would do a presentation on their research. So I would go to those sometimes. It's like, does your department do events like that? It does take extra time. It takes extra time out of your day to make these connections, but they're very valuable. Just the human connection adds value to our life in general. But they also can be people in your corner when you are looking to advance your career. And who do you know that you admire? So this is This is where I talk a little bit about mentorship. Is there a way for you to build an informal mentorship with them through a project? So we've all heard of formal mentorship, where you get a mentor assigned to you. When I was part of professional development program, I did have a mentor assigned to me. And it was great. I learned a lot from him. He was from UCLA Extension. But I'm also a big proponent of informal mentorships. It's like when you have somebody that you admire, that you are somewhat close to, but maybe you don't work with as much, maybe try to find a way to work with them on a project, so that you can continue to learn with them more. When you actually have a work project that you're both contributing to, you get to learn a lot about how they function. Plus they get to see the skills that you have. And they might be somebody who might recommend you for a position. While I was at Anderson, like I said, I was as part of Speak Up at Anderson. I did the professional development program. There was a specific professor that I admired. So I actually found a way to partner with her to run one of the programs that we had. And by working closely with her, I got to build up my political acumen in terms of UCLA faculty, how how faculty think and what their needs and wants are here at UCLA. And that's an important part of being successful as UCLA, is understanding faculty. Faculty are a core part of us achieving our mission. So staff and faculty need to learn to work together. And I realize this is an area I don't know that much about. So partnering with this professor, getting a chance to ask them questions, was really valuable to me. So definitely keep your eyes and ears open. Who can you connect with? And again, it doesn't need to be a formal, will you be my mentor? And let's meet once a month for 30 minutes. So sometimes it really is just, what can I help you with? Can we work on, is there an opportunity to work on something together? So keep your eyes and ears open. How can you connect with confidence with others? All right, and here's another quote. The people you choose to spend time with will change who you are. The difference between who you are today and who you will be in 5 years will be the people you spend time with and the books you read. This one was by a popular speaker named Charlie Tremendous Jones. But the thing I like the most about this, and when I started reflecting about it, is in my past role running programs for top executives, I realized I actually had a chance to spend time with people who were top leaders in their organizations, and they were seeking to continue to grow themselves. And I realized how this was such a great opportunity for me to continue to grow myself and start seeing the world a little bit through their eyes. And I did change during those 4 years I was there, in terms of how I view the world. So try to connect with others who have goals that are similar to yours, who want to advance, who want to grow, who are committed to UCLA, who want to grow UCLA. And books. Oh, I'm constantly reading books. So I definitely recommend you to read different books about it. Like I mentioned, John Maxwell, there's Amy Cuddy has many great books on imposter syndrome. So, read the things that appeal to you, appeal to your skills, would be beneficial for you to reach your goals. All right. So what next? When the opportunity comes up, you have to be, you want to be ready for it. So how to be ready? 1, have an updated resume and cover letter ready. So make sure that you keep your resume updated, your cover letter updated with your most recent position. Because if you're ready and a job gets posted on UCLA Jobs, the sooner you apply, the better. The longer you wait, hey, they might already be on a final interview with somebody else. So you want to be ready to apply as soon as possible. And they will most likely read your cover letter, because you're from UCLA, they're going to take a look at it. So that's why I say customize the resume and cover letter to job description. So you want to have your generic one ready, but when you're ready to apply for the job, make sure you customize it. Sometimes when I'm hiring, I take a look at that the cover letter and it just sounds really generic, I'm like, do you really even want this job? So it is important to customize if it's a position that you want. Do research on that department. Never just show up to the interview. So we tell this to our students, and it's really important, no matter how far along you are in what role you're interviewing for, always do research on the department. Know their website, know what they have to offer, know their mission, connect with your network. Who do you know who works there? That's another really important, to start building up that network, start making those connections. Can somebody tell you a little bit about, you know, what the culture there is like, what they're looking for? It can go a long way. You can, just a reminder, UCLA jobs, it is public knowledge or how much we get paid. So it's good to be aware of that. Interview with confidence. So there is a popular method that I recommend, the STAR method. So you can do a little bit of research on that. It's pretty much for behavioral interviews, you want to show up and you want to have specific stories and share what skills those stories come from. Be ready to give actual examples for the skills that you have. Instead of speaking in generalities when you're interviewing, tell them specific examples of what you've done. One of the biggest ways to tell how you will be in the future is to look at what you've done in the past. So make sure that you're ready to share your accomplishments from the past. And have 4 to 5 references ready to go. This one can be a little tricky. Just another reason to make connections outside of your team. Because if you don't necessarily want your department to know that you're interviewing somewhere else, you're going to need to have references in other places than the people you work with right now. So make sure that you have connections with others. Like I said, I was in Toastmasters. I also connected with a couple of the past participants who went through some of the programs, because I did form relationships with them. So so make sure you have 4 or 5 references. UCLA does check references, so make sure you have those ready to go. And decide if it's right for you. You should get, I read an amazing article about a year ago when I was interviewing for my role at the UCLA Career Center. It said you should get 30% more. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not getting 30% more in pay. And if we work at UCLA, so the increase is only so much. But the article said you should get 30% more, not just in pay, but also in experience and the opportunity to grow professionally and the opportunity to use the skills that you want for that long-term position. When I was interviewing here at the Career Center, from my conversations with the interview, it really seemed like I was going to get a chance to lead, to exercise my leadership skills, which was really important to me. Like I mentioned, my master's degree was in higher education leadership, and it's something I wanted to grow. I managed 2 other people at my past department, and here we have, when we're fully staffed, we'll be a team of 8. We're actually hiring 1 more person, posted on UCLA jobs actually. So, but ultimately you want to decide if this is the position that's going to help you continue to grow and achieve those goals. And you might decide that after interviewing, maybe it's not. Because when you're interviewing, they're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them. You want to make sure that it'll be a good culture fit for you, and that you will be getting a chance to develop more yourself. And again, this isn't just salary. Of course, salary is always a part of it. And it's always possible to negotiate. So, you know, understand the level you're applying for and what you can, and be realistic with the negotiation. But that's always a possibility, unless they told you from the beginning, this is our budget. So, okay, if you get the promotion, after you get the promotion, this is general advice. Goes back to those career competencies. Continue to grow your skills and your leadership. Don't stop growing. What I've noticed often when people get promoted, it's usually more heavily weighted on one of these 2 things. It'll either be your skills, it'll be your leadership. But you want to continue to grow both of them. So sometimes you're really good at your job, but maybe you've never managed anybody, then you'll want to put in that effort to continue to grow your leadership skills. And Campus Human Resources actually has some amazing leadership programs. I actually took some when I became a new manager. I took 2 of them, and I can't remember the names of them, but I remember I really appreciated what I learned, and I slowly started applying this. And the reason I say this is because I want to encourage you to be the boss you want to have. You know, I know I appreciate when my boss is able to give me good feedback, is invested in me, wants to continue to grow me, has the skills to continue to grow me, and has the leadership to continue to develop me and the team and grow the vision. So continue to grow yourself. For example, when I started at the Career Center, I actually only had limited experience on career. However, I know that I had really good leadership skills. So I came in with leadership skills, and I'm really focusing on growing my career skills, everything that we share with our students. So what I've done, I read the articles posted by our organization, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. I connect with my colleagues to just find out as much as I can about what they know. So I find ways to continue growing my skills. And of course, I'm not going to neglect my leadership either. I continue to grow that by reading books, watching podcasts, watching YouTube. And we also have access to LinkedIn Learning. That's something I didn't mention, but it is something that we have access to as UCLA employees. Okay. And that is the core of it. Here is our recap, which I will not go through because it's really just a recap of everything I just went through. And we have a few minutes for questions now. So
I do have a couple of questions. The first is, do you recommend to always negotiate a salary offer?
I would say yes. Unless they specifically told you this is my only, this is our budget, we cannot go above this, but even then you can. It doesn't hurt to ask. Just don't be completely unreasonable. Don't come back asking for, 50% more, which I've had people do. Not 50, but just an unreasonable amount. It's like you want to do your research as to what is a reasonable amount. I would recommend it.
Mildred, I'm sorry, and Grace, sorry to interrupt. Can I just add a little bit to that question? I was the one who asked the question. So, I think just as an admin staff worker, I have the impression that, no matter how hard you work or how many years you've been here, admin is sort of replaceable. And so I think that has sort of caused some hesitation as far as, is it worth negotiating? I feel like maybe if you are a clinician, a doctor, a faculty member, you have the ability to negotiate, but you do still recommend as admin, and sort of know your worth to try for it. It won't hurt you to do so.
That's correct, Elizabeth. It won't hurt you. It actually, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's actually like a belief that many people have. It's like, oh no, if I negotiate, they're gonna take back the offer. We're not. If somebody's making you an offer, that means they want to hire you. And if they come back, this is really all we can do. It's like, okay, but you at least asked. And of course you ask in a polite way. It actually makes you stand out. It's expected for you to negotiate some, actually.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is, how do you reconcile between your strength, your passion, and your skills? For example, if you have experience in budgeting, but you don't like doing it and prefer to do something like event planning, and being organized is one of your strengths, should you go for a job that is more aligned with your experience or what your strength / passionate about?
In my opinion, life is too short to not do something that you really like. So if you're good at something, but you don't like it, get the skills that you learn from that and use them for something that you want to do. Like you specifically said, budget planning and event plan, but but you'd rather be an event planner. Budget planning gives you great experience in terms of organization, which is something that you need for event planning. Being able to put together a schedule and a timeline and execute. These are all things you learn during budget planning. So read those job descriptions and find ways to make your skills fit. There usually is a way if you're creative. So yeah, transferable skills.
Okay. The next question is, can you speak about the importance of having a degree versus experience? What if you don't have a bachelor's or higher education, but have a lot of experience? And how does this compare to getting a certificate versus getting a BA? And dealing with the imposter syndrome and just feeling defeated when you don't fulfill these requirements on the job description.
Yeah, in today's world, there's many different ways for you to continue your education without necessarily being a bachelor's degree. You know, we have UCLA Extension where you can go and get a certificate, and just taking that initiative to show that you're willing to grow yourself, grow your education, that says a lot. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree for many of the jobs. If it's required, they usually put it in the job description, but sometimes it really just says preferred and it's not a requirement. So we have people working here at the Career Center that don't have a bachelor's degree. So it is definitely possible. Again, it's going back to knowing what you do have to offer. If you've had work experience, you have knowledge and skills that you can apply. If you feel you're lacking, go back and get some extra learning and put those things on your resume.
Okay. And then if you have a yearly contract renewal, do you recommend negotiating a salary for an increase or other offer?
A yearly contract renewal. I haven't been in that position yet. But my opinion is that it doesn't hurt to ask. So.
Okay. The next question is, how can you get buy-in from your bosses or department to invest in your professional development to help you advance in your career, even with something like giving you the time off to attend different trainings when work always seems to always be busy and never ends?
That is very true. Work is definitely always busy. First of all, know your department's goals. What do they want to accomplish? And then do a little bit of research of the professional development you want to do and find ways to make them match. It's like, how will this professional development actually help you come back and do a better, be a more efficient employee, be a more skilled employee, whatever it is your department's goals are, is you have to show how that professional development will help. So it does require a little bit of research, putting some planning, putting it together and then presenting it. And again, that goes back with some political acumen. It's understanding your boss and what makes them tick. What will make your boss? What will motivate them? Are they motivated by finances? Let's say how it will help you save on money. Are they motivated by new ideas? Show how it's going to help you come back with new ideas. It's like, know what will motivate your bosses to encourage you to go.
Okay.
And just bring back, we are a learning institution. I want to continue learning, so that's always good too.
Yeah, that's true. And then the next question is, if you don't do well in an interview, do you think that impacts your chances of being hired at another department? Or if your department doesn't promote you, do you feel that it's better to move out of that department or move out of UCLA?
I think it depends. Okay. Maybe they didn't promote you because somebody else genuinely was more ready for the position. I would recommend asking your supervisor why you didn't get the promotion. What can you work on? And continue to have a positive attitude to continue growing yourself in whatever areas. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to go back and to start looking at other positions. At UCLA. Yes, you always have the option to go outside of UCLA. That's always an option. I really appreciate my position here at UCLA because there are so many options within UCLA to continue growing. It's a community. We're connected, and I can continue to grow my skills. But of course, you always have the option to look outside. And I think another part of that was, does it affect you if you don't interview well? It does affect you. I mean, it's hard to get a position if you didn't interview well. However, sending that. Oh, one other thing I didn't mention is sending a thank you email is super important. Always send a thank you email after the interview. Sending a really good thank you email, even after a so-so interview, can make you stand out. But usually people don't, like within departments or on other departments, they usually don't talk to her and say, oh no, don't hire that person, they had a bad interview. Like, we're also, when we're interviewing, we're also compassionate. We understand that you're nervous, so we do understand that. As long as you come prepared with stories, examples, you've done your research, nervousness, we understand it. So
Thank you, Mildred. We are at the hour, so I think that is it for us today. I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. There's a lot of really great positive feedback in the chat. So thank you so much. And I am going to also put in the chat our post-event survey. If you could all let us know if you enjoyed this workshop, and if you want to see more of this, please let us know. And again, thank you so much.
thank you, Grace, and thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Mildred. I
Okay.
think we're still recording.
Oh, let me turn it off. Thank you, Patty.
No problem.